Hello there, crew of the Enterprise. This week we have got a very special episode for you. This is the live show that Captain's Pod did for SinWeek back in March of this year, 2022. The entire CinemaSins team got together and talked about all of the Star Trek they love and of course sinned it in front of a live audience in a beautiful theatre. At the very end of the episode, there's a bit of a Q&A as well, so stay tuned all the way to the end. Hope you enjoy.
This is SETI Alpha 5.
This is SETI Alpha 5.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
He says it more angrily than that. Like, this is SETI Alpha 5!
There you go.
Captain's Pod, Stardate 280422.1. Welcome aboard the Starship Enterprise for a very special mission. Every single...
Sorry, this time I get to see your screen. It's cool.
There's a reason you don't get to see my screen, because you do that and then I have to start again. Captain's Pod, Stardate 280422.1. Welcome aboard the Starship Enterprise for a very special mission as the entire Sins team takes a break from the world of CinemaSins to engage with the final frontier. I'm your Captain Ian Whittington, and with me, as always, is the unfazerable Deneé Hughes.
Hey, what is your whole thing?
Can I do the intros first?
Oh, sure.
Smashing.
Smashing.
Beaming in to join us is Science Officer Commander Daniel Cardoso.
Whoa.
Hello, everyone.
Science officer.
I like that you looked at me and thought I would be the science officer, Aaron.
Oh, just you
I
wait.
don't know where to look.
Just you wait. Admiral Chris Atkinson.
Ooh.
That's right.
Fleet Commander Jeremy Scott.
He's an admiral?
Right, okay. You have no idea how many hours I put into doing that and got
Then
wrong.
I'm so happy with my title.
Good, fantastic. You get to play with all the
Commander.
ships.
I have control of the whole fleet.
Yep. Chief Punny Officer Aaron Dicer.
Oh, thank you. May the force be with you.
Oh!
Wait, what did I do? What did I say wrong?
No. And Acting Ensign Jonathan Watkins.
Damn dirty apes. What?
You made him an ensign, you asshole.
Acting Ensign, which means we get to say shut up Jonathan whenever we want.
Does that mean he's the one that dies?
I mean, it could happen. There's no rules against that.
I thought about doing that actually, but I not.
You thought about wearing red?
Yeah.
I mean, great.
Yeah.
That's how
But
it works.
visuals don't really work on a podcast.
Okay, this week we'll run slightly differently. As much as I would love to play Picard on this beautiful screen in this amazing theatre, we can't. So instead, we've been instructed by Sinfleet Command to bring our own Trek to the table, where we get to share what we love about it and then sin the shit out of it. That's what we do. So the idea here is we're going to pick either our favourite episode, movie, character, overall series, anything we want that we kind of encapsulates why we love Star Trek. And then we
Yeah, first I want to put on my comm badge.
woo!
That I brought that you forgot.
Just don't puncture a boob,
Oh,
because that has...
yeah, it sure does. Okay, so this was not easy to do, but at 5:30 this morning when I woke up and I was thinking about the day today, I finally decided what my favorite thing
You
was.
waited until today to prep for
Shut up.
this?
No, I've been thinking. I've been prepping by thinking for days and hours. But no, I really feel like it's the holodeck. That's my favorite thing about Star Trek.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because it's so imaginative, and it also, every episode gives the cast a chance to explore our world by looking back in history. Like, we watched an episode with Worf and his son where they went back to the Wild West, and then the holodeck like breaks down and it gets really difficult, like it goes on difficulty level.
Well, basically, they walked into the holodeck, therefore it broke down, because
That's
you
what happens
cannot have a
every
holodeck
episode.
episode without it killing someone.
Yeah, and so that happened, and that was interesting because it like created this other thing that they could do. Because in Star Trek, you can either go explore somewhere, or you can go to the holodeck and have like a cool like little off episode. It doesn't all have to be in Star Trek. It's really neat, and I love the imagination part of it. So that's my favorite thing.
You don't want to be the guy cleaning that up, though.
No.
I assure you,
Yeah, that's got to be weird.
because that's got to be like 99% porn is what's going on.
It absolutely has to be. There's no way it isn't.
No, but they clean themselves, don't they? The starships.
Generally,
yeah,
yeah.
I'm sure they created.
We talked about
something
this
to
about
clean
carpet.
bodily fluid.
I think it's a job for the active ensign, actually, if I understand how the...
Acting.
Probably.
He's an active and acting.
I'll clean up
Active
after a
acting
fistful of
is-
datas, but that's probably about it.
Now, Fistful of Daters is definitely the porn title that you probably you definitely don't want on the holodeck.
Oh no!
But that was the episode you watched, right?
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
is. Yeah, it just absolutely could be an alternative title.
No,
as
you're
well.
right. You're correct.
Right. So, Jeremy,
Yeah.
what do you love about Ticks your transport?
Well, I could pick a lot of. Is this on?
Sounds it.
I can't hear it. I decided to go with Yesterday's Enterprise. Just
Yes.
I love all the Next Generation. The Next Generation is my favorite Trek, but especially when they deal with time travel, and they've got almost a dozen episodes that deal with time wonkiness. Yesterday's Enterprise is one where a time anomaly, as is wont to do, causes an old version of the Enterprise to appear, and they were in a heavy battle and taking losses and about to die, but now they're here in the future, staring at our Enterprise in Picard, and Guinan knows something's up.
Heck yeah, she does.
She's like, hey, this isn't right, because everything changes when this happens, and nobody really knows what's going on. Then they figure out they got to send that Enterprise back to its eventual death. And
Dark as heck.
the fucked up thing about it, pardon my French, is they sent Tasha.
Yeah.
They sent Tasha Yar over to this old Enterprise because
Whoa, what?
she's going to die eventually anyway in
It's-
the original timeline.
It's so brutal because Guinan knows that there's something wrong with Tasha, and Tasha's like, "What's wrong?" And she's like, "You're dead."
Yeah.
No, fuck
Yeah.
you, dude.
She's like, well, if I'm going to die anyway, let's fuck with the timeline and send a future person back into the past. That makes that flies in the face of everything that Picard would.
Yeah, that should have broken everything because the point of sending that Enterprise back was to fix the timeline.
Exactly.
Hey, let's send someone else that shouldn't be there.
Yeah,
But that's
exactly.
how I
You just
wanna
fucked up
go.
the timeline even more.
Yep.
Yeah, that's how I want to go. Yeah, like a ship shows up and it's like, "Hey, Deneé, you're gonna die soon." Well, then I'm gonna go fuck up a timeline before I go. That sounds kind of fun.
There
No?
was a really. She also went because of Lady Boners as well, because there was the captain of the ship. I think that had something to do with it as well. Even though they're going straight into a battle to get obliterated by the Borg. It's like,
Yep.
well, at least somebody. home.
Oh, they're gonna get assimilated?
Oh yeah. So no, it's
Changed my
not the Borg.
mind.
No, it's the Romulans.
Okay,
They
then
didn't know
I'm
about
back
the
in.
Borg yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
But but didn't Tasha, like, isn't there an episode after that though where there is another Tasha Yar? It's like Legacy or something.
Yeah.
So that's
Romulan.
Sela, and so the Tasha, it's really fucked up. The Tasha that gets sent back then gets kidnapped by a Romulan.
Okay.
They have a child, and then that person comes to have.
And looks
a
just like
vendetta
Denise
against Picard.
Crosby with.
Looks exactly like
Yeah.
Denise Crosby, but as a blonde rat. That's bonkers. My other favourite thing about yesterday's Enterprise is they had to rush the Enterprise C, the ship, for the Enterprise D. So they're like, well, we've got the Enterprise B from Generation, whatever film turned up in, and then we have the Enterprise D, and they kind of just mushed together, and it's the least imaginative ship design that you could ever come up with. Like, oh, that's exactly a copy and paste of those two together. Yeah, no, it's a great episode.
It's like the Conan O'Brien sketch where he took like two celebrities and what the baby would look like. It's pretty much.
It's exactly that. It's exactly that.
If they made it, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jonathan.
Oh, well, I didn't think there's a lot of stuff I could talk about. I didn't think anybody really be giving Voyager some love, so I thought I would do that. Specific episode, the 4th season finale. It's called Hope and Fear. And
Jonathan,
this is,
I was going to say that.
Are you serious?
No, that
that would have been
is
awesome. Actually, that would have been awesome because I
We
could
have
have.
800 episodes and a million films to choose from, and you guys pick the same thing.
And
That's
it's
amazing.
a random episode of Voyager that probably nobody's ever talked about. But you were joking, right?
No, it was one of my favorites, and I did think about it, but no, that's not what
Do you want me to pick a different
This
one?
is-
Oh, no, go for it.
Okay, I'm glad it's one of your favorites, though, so you can correct me if I get some of this wrong. But so at the beginning of the 4th season, the end of the 3rd season, I guess, just to give you a little history, Voyager has to go through Borg space, or they have to go around it. They can't go around it because there's a species that's even like greater than the Borg. But they figure out a way to, Janeway figures out how to commit genocide on this other species.
Yeah.
Whoa.
As one does.
No, so this is true.
And
this is
so
an actual-
she
yeah, uh-huh.
so she sells that information to the Borg for in return being able to travel safely through Borg space. Then they end up with 7 of 9, and which is great because Jerry's awesome and she's continuing to be awesome on Picard. And so then you go through the 4th season, which was a killer season, by the way. You're like Year of Hell 2-parter. And,
Oh, it's so good.
which that was supposed to
Well,
be.
that literally was
that
the
was supposed to be
season.
the entire season. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a whole other story. Fucking Rick Berman screwing everything up. But that's a whole other story. But anyway, so we go through this season. All this has happened in the past. And one thing I love about Hope and Fear is that it deals with like the aftermath of decisions that were made, which is something, at least at that time, Star Trek didn't always do. Most of the time, like yesterday's Enterprise, it would get wrapped up and then there really wouldn't be anything mentioned about it other than, I guess, the Sela thing. But a lot of episodes did stuff like that. This was really cool because in this one, in Hope and Fear, they have earlier in the season, they had received like a encoded message from Starfleet, and they were hoping it was a way to get them home quicker, but they couldn't decode it. And then in this episode, they're looking at it again. They happen to run into this other alien played by the great Ray Wise, he is a species that can figure out languages really quickly. So he's also able to work with computers really well and stuff. And so he decodes the message, which ends up being like, we've created this slipstream drive. There's a ship waiting for you, not really close to you somehow. And so go to that ship and you'll be able to get home in like half the time.
And the crew accepts that so quickly.
Well, Janeway, though,
okay with it.
Janeway is skeptical. And then that ends up being right because the Ray Wise character ends up being a species that was protected by Species 8-4. But once Janeway made that pact with the Borg were able to assimilate like his entire race except for him.
Right.
So he kidnaps Janeway in 7, and his intention is to kidnap the whole crew. That doesn't work out because they figure it out, but he gets Janeway in 7. They're heading to Borg space so he can have them assimilated. And then, of course, there is some stuff in there that's like really convenient. Like Voyager actually kind of puts some of the device on their ship, and so they're able to catch up with them and all that kind of stuff. So it does kind of have but it was just, I don't know, it was cool. It was a season finale that, because ever since Best of Both Worlds, all the Star Trek season finales always have to be these big things or this big cliffhanger. This was just like a really nice episode to kind of bookend what started at the beginning of So I don't know, that one's always really stuck with me for, like I said, for all the reasons I just said about how I like when they deal with the effects, because especially on Voyager, they had to make like some insane decisions because they're stranded and they're nowhere near Federation. And so, but a lot of the times they would still wrap all those episodes up. But every now and then they would do something like this and, make a pretty special episode. So that's definitely up there for me.
He's like, legit.
He's up there.
That was legit.
Okay, you are now full ensign.
Thank
you are
you.
not just acting ensign.
No,
you are
thank
full
you.
ensign on the ship. Well done.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
Congratulations.
It's active ensign.
Yes.
And you keep saying the wrong thing, and I don't mean to have to correct you.
Did I explain all that right, though, Daniel, from what you remember?
Yes.
That sounds right?
Was,
Okay,
that was great. That was way better than I could.
Oh, it's exactly how I remember it. So,
Yeah.
Good.
yeah.
Yeah, it's Aaron's favorite episode also from him. We all three had that episode. It was
Yeah. It is one of those episodes where you kind of come out of it rooting for him to win, and you're like, no.
Oh, yeah.
No, Janeway doesn't deserve this win. Like, his entire species is gone, including him now, because she gets away and he gets assimilated.
Spoiler alert, he gets
Spoiler,
assimilated.
yeah. Sorry.
What a
25-year-old
bummer.
episode.
Wow.
No, I love that one too.
One thing I would add is the visuals, like that ship that
Yeah.
the fake Starfleet ship. It was like really cool looking. The design on that.
Yeah, it was a really
episode
cool design. I wish they could have somehow figured out a way to bring that back. But
And they didn't just glue two ships together.
No,
Like
this one they bothered to create
Saying
something
stuff
original.
like person number 8375 or whatever.
I know.
I was like,
It's
what?
species 8472,
No,
actually,
like,
Chris.
Yeah, I was sitting there going, man, we have really nerded out today. when we can name somebody who had a number as their character name.
7
Well,
of 9.
that's
I
how
know
the-
that one.
Yeah.
That's how the Borg named species. So they didn't say like Romulans or humans. They would say like species 1174 or whatever.
Yeah.
So that
Not making it any better, Jonathan.
I know.
That makes us even bigger nerds.
It's just
I love
this
it.
is like one of those conversations where if they're happening around you and it's not your thing, you can just kind of slowly fade out and no one would notice. Like,
Very true.
They would all
I'm trying. It's not quite working yet.
Well, then that works because Aaron, you're up. So.
Oh, I'm up next.
Yeah.
My favorite piece of Star Trek is I don't know the number of the movie.
Empire Strikes Back.
But it was James
gonna
Spader and Kurt Russell, and it was portal technology
Oh,
that the
that was a
aliens
great one. Yeah.
delivered.
I don't know how well you can see
So
my
they were
eye
going through
twitch.
some sort of gate. I
Yes,
think.
some
Yeah.
sort of gate for the stars.
Yeah.
Some sort of gate for the
Right.
stars.
Yeah.
My third
really love
favorite
that one.
star after Trek and Wars.
No, my serious answer is Wrath of Khan, which I know is a very basic answer for a lot of people, but that movie of Star Trek stuff owned my childhood. Like I watched that movie, probably once a month when I was a kid because we had a VHS copy from TV, which probably means I didn't watch the whole movie. Like that's what I realized looking back on some of that stuff now is like how much is missing from like those TV broadcasts. And,
Well, do you
and that kind
remember crying a lot at the end? Because if you didn't, then you didn't see the end.
I remember being freaked out by the worm.
That
in the
that's
ear
one of my
thing,
early
like one of my
childhood
early
terrors.
yeah exactly. And I remember there's a lot of emotion to it. I remember like the just the character of Khan was just so intimidating, and pectoralis on that guy like, just like
And came from an original series episode that's really not that good. Like
Shut your mouth.
It's
That is
so-
a great
No,
episode.
it became better because of Wrath of Khan. But like if
Yeah.
they had never made Wrath of Khan, no one would talk about that episode,
It's
except for maybe Ricardo Montalban fans.
Yeah, it's one of the more problematic episodes as well because
Yes.
the 21st century specialist officer that happens to be around isn't painted in a great light. She gets immediately seduced and is like almost the reason the entire ship's destroyed because hey, women.
Well,
Like,
and what
that's
they end up-
basically the message of the episode.
What they end up doing to Khan's kind of fucked up too, though. I mean, he kind of has a right to be pissed in Star Trek too.
Oh yeah, they just abandoned
SETI
it.
This is SETI Alpha 5.
This is SETI Alpha 5.
Wow.
wow. Chills.
He says it more angrily than that.
Chills.
Like,
Chills.
this is SETI Alpha 5!
There you go. That was the best Montalban I've ever heard. That was muy magnifico.
And then when he has the leather line about the Corinthian leather.
The what?
No, I must be thinking of something else. So anyhow,
Fistful of Datas again?
I do enjoy Wrath of Khan, and as much of probably the Star Trek-y person on the staff, I would guess. It's still Chris, maybe you and me.
Possibly, yeah.
I really do love and See, that's a Cable Guy reference.
No,
more than a
shut
Star
your
Trek.
mouth. It is not.
Sure. And it's That'll Do Donkey, right?
Good. Yeah, that's
okay,
it.
all
Yeah.
right. Anyhow, I really do love and genuinely respect the sci-fi building of Star Trek. Incredibly intricate and beautiful, and I remember watching a lot of the old school. The other thing I might have chosen was The Trouble with Tribbles, which is just an old
so
school
good.
episode that just activated my mind in cool ways. So no, I do. I dig Star Trek. I just give you a little.
It's
little
almost like you enjoy Ribby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trolly.
That's it. Do I, Chris?
Yes. So let's see. My Star Trek experience is that I have all the movies except for Nemesis.
You're good.
And
It's fine.
right. And I've seen a handful of episodes from almost every, but TNG's, I believe it's called Cause and Effect,
Yes.
is my favorite episode.
There will be
Is
no
that the one we
fighting here.
watched?
That is the first one that we watched
Does
together.
it start with a ship blowing up?
Yes,
Fuck
the
yeah, it
Enterprise
does.
blows up at the beginning, and that's when they go to commercial. And you're
Yeah.
like,
Mm-hmm.
what the hell just happened to the Enterprise? But you know that there's like 50 minutes left, and you're like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, what I saw wasn't really what I'm going to end up seeing here. Yeah, it's one of those Groundhog Day. I don't even know if this came out before Groundhog Day, possibly.
So that came out in 1992.
Ooh, it came out before Groundhog Day then.
Yeah, it did.
It inspired Groundhog Day.
Right. Maybe we should not refer to that genre as Groundhog Day,
It's
but
a cause and
as
effect
cause
day.
and effect.
Heck yeah.
But yeah, they keep getting into the same situation, and they keep dying, and then by the end they have to. I can't remember. They have to put something in Data at the end where Data is like, "Oh, I remember this," or something.
The dumbest thing ever.
Right.
That episode
Save it for
rules.
this instance.
But the way that Data realizes it, he looks at the insignia
Yes.
on Riker's shirt and goes, "There's 3 dots there. I should do the 3." That's how he figures it out. That whole episode rules, by the way.
Right,
but it's so loose.
I was going to say, and I didn't remember exactly what it was. I was going to say it seemed kind of dumb how
like the-
Data figures it out, and I'm like, yeah, but if you're resetting every time,
And see that.
can you really remember?
What you didn't know, that inspired Bruce Willis reading the aspirin bottle in Die Hard with a Vengeance. I'm kidding.
Yeah, it must have done.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely.
The science behind it, Chris, is
Oh, the
that
science.
there is a Dekion field that is surrounding the Enterprise.
Dekion
Nerd.
field.
I don't even know what that is.
And they manipulate that to send a message to Deneé. Wow, Deneé
Yeah.
was in that
To
episode.
Deneé.
To Data's Ponic
That's right.
network.
Because I fucked with a timeline when I
Isn't
died.
that,
That's right.
Ian, isn't that mostly a Crusher episode? Is that right?
It's like 25%
starts off with her.
Crusher. Yeah, because she's like trimming some
That's
plants
got to be
and humming.
easily the best episode to focus much at all on Crusher, though.
No, the one with the bubble in the universe that gets smaller.
Oh, that's good.
Remember
That was
Me
a
or
good
something.
one.
That's
Yeah.
a good one, too.
Yeah, that was a surprising one because it starts with Beverly being the one that is thinking that there's something weird, and you just think you're going to watch the same thing over and over again, but then they start to change the camera angle just enough, and then Riker picks something up at the poker table, and you realize, oh, they're going to do something with the rest of the crew realizing thing is happening too. So that was a surprise.
Yeah. And most of the TNG episodes are all the famous that every both worlds and stuff like that. I've seen, but yeah, I've seen Star Trek randomly before, where it's like some episode from season 7 and whatever, and you're like, what the shit is this? What are they doing in this? We
were
episode?
Kind of running out of ideas.
But they had to come out with 26-hour-long episodes back in the day, which is something that you don't do these days.
No, because it killed people.
Yeah, exactly.
That was also original content on syndication. Like, most people don't know. I mean, Next Generation had like 30 million viewers a week, like in its heyday, and for a syndicated show, like that's insane.
Yeah.
But now you don't even really have shows like that. Syndication's pretty much just like Judge Judy or Jeopardy or whatever. That's all your syndication stuff now.
Yeah.
Can you imagine a Judge fan podcast?
I'm pulling for it. I'm trying.
Guys, do you remember that episode when they were suing for like rights to the dog food?
Yeah.
How did that come about, Deneé? Let's stay on that bunny trail. Right, Daniel.
So we're not doing the Judge Judy thing?
No.
No, that's next year's SinWeek.
You may get demoted.
I figured as much.
Okay. You know, acting Punny Officer. Sorry, active.
Thank you.
Daniel.
All right. Well, I was going to bring it up because I felt like it needed to be said, but it's already best of both worlds.
Yes.
It's just, it's like the, like when it first came out, like that was before like we've just like been inundated with the Borg ever since then, and like so that was like just like the pinnacle of that arc from like when you first hear about the Borg to when Picard gets assimilated. Spoilers. I mean, it's been over a decade. Come on.
I feel like over 3, I think.
That's probably true. I think it was like 9 when that came out. So yeah, like that's probably my favorite, and it's just for those reasons. Like upon like rewatching, there's so much other Star Trek. I almost said Star Wars because Aaron got in my ear.
It's working.
Am I gonna be acting science officer?
You're acting up.
Active. Yeah. It's actually active.
Active. It's active.
Get off my ship.
The active science officer.
How does it feel to have a whole crew of shenanigans?
Oh, this is the best. I can see why we have transporter beams all in space.
I will say, Daniel, the best of both worlds is that sits in my mind because that was like I was alive for Who Shot JR, but I was really young, so I wasn't like watching Dallas. So Riker saying fire and then it fucking ends. That was like the longest summer of my life.
Yes.
And obviously that's happened a lot since then. I've seen a lot of cliffhangers since then, but that's the one thing I always will remember about Best of Both Worlds was that it just like ruined because I had to wait.
I also love the fact that the Riker's storyline or his arc where he turns down the command, or like it's revealed that he turned down the command.
Yeah,
and
like
then
you've got what is it? Shelby is the one trying that, and which is Brian Dennehy's daughter.
Yeah. I can't remember her name.
It's like Elizabeth Dennehy or something like that. Yeah.
The ensign guy. He's the one that knows all that stuff. Yeah.
But I always remember with Best of Both Worlds, it's the first part especially is great. Right up until Riker says fire, and you've got this like dramatic crescendo of music that's so dramatic, you're like, holy shit, and then bum, ba, ba, bum. It rips you out of the mood so quickly, which I guess that's kind of a good thing, because then you're not on a complete downer.
Funny, shows have started doing that where they don't play the happy theme music after such an ending because they realize how ridiculous that is.
It is. Yeah. I remember 24 because 24 was always ending on this person's dead and then they're back the next episode. But when there was the silent clock that didn't do the boom 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 at the end, you know they're dead. They are super just like, oh fuck, they got rid of the ticking. That must be serious.
Well, like Star Trek didn't have a lot of like storylines that carried over, so everything was always wrapped up at the end.
Yeah, always. It was only DS9 that really dared to do that, and that's only there was so much dancing on Gene Roddenberry's grave as soon as he died, because he was like, TNG will not have callbacks to the original series. It won't have time travel, and it won't have anything that like goes on longer than 2 episodes. As soon as he dies, it's like yesterday's Enterprise. We're gonna do DS9, which is just one long serialized story.
DS9 got away with it though because of Ira Stephen Bear was basically like, I don't give a shit. I'm not listening to Rick Berman, and then they just never fired him. So he kind of did what he wanted. That's how. But Berman very much like after what, and Berman in some ways was correct because. In syndication, Voyager, TNG, and the original series do a lot better than Deep Space Nine because Deep Space Nine, it's harder to just find a random episode to watch. Like you've kind of got to know a lot of shit. You know, so I mean, I understand where he was coming from, but it was still cool to have Deep Space Nine. You know, I thought it was. But.
I think it's great. And that documentary is so good.
I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, no worries. Last thing I would like to add is I don't think that Jonathan's actually an ensign. I'm pretty sure he's Section 31. Based upon
nailed it. He is. You are.
The amount of information that he has. He's definitely intelligent.
Have we talked about Section 31 yet, Deneé?
Let's go.
Let's go. Okay, right. So, Section Jonathan.
Do we have to talk about the 30 previous sections to get to the 31? Or
are they still making the
the
Section 31 show? Is that
it's
still
on the cards with Michelle Yeoh, yeah, but it
Very
depends on how well everything, the time always happening at once goes.
Is it a title? Section
well,
31.
Jonathan, our Section 31 ambassador, would you like to explain what your organization does?
Active Section 31.
Section 31 is like it would be the equivalent of like cigarette smoking man and stuff on the X-Files, like the organization that like knows aliens have landed. It's like this kind of shady organization within the Federation, which has actually pissed off a lot of older Star Trek fans. They think, like that's not Federation. You know,
We're
they
tracking.
wouldn't do that.
Okay. So you're like an agent for Section 31.
It's kind of like the FBI. Like it would be the FBI.
I really hoped that you were going to refer to it by like the Romulan version of what they have. Like you're going to try and explain what Section 31 is by explaining what the Tal Shiar is.
Yeah, the Tal Shiar. Yeah, that's true. It's the Tal
No one's going to get
Shiar
confused
of the
by that.
Federation.
It's a Tal Shiar. Oh my God, I understand
Wait, you know
that
who
reference.
they are. Yes. It's them, but for the humans.
And being
My
assimilated.
favorite part of Picard still is Riker saying, "It would." What does he say? Like it would do me no more pleasure than to blast your Tal Shiar ass out of the sky.
He said ass.
I'm
He
such a
did.
dork.
Oh
Yeah,
Riker.
Spiner said fuck a couple weeks ago or
He
whatever,
did.
and I was
Oh,
like,
he
"Oh my
did.
god!"
Yeah. It's like, oh, we are streaming. We are not on
We can
TV.
do whatever we want.
I hated that in Generations though when they did that part
No,
where,
that's
where
the
Data
best.
says, "Oh shit."
Oh,
yeah, but it's just like
shit.
it's like one of those dumb things like we can curse now. Let's curse.
But it makes sense because it has an emotion chip.
It's like it's like Logan. Like the first 10 minutes of Logan is just fuck.
Yeah, it is.
Fuck.
Boobs in a limo. Fuck. So I've talked about my favorite episode loads of different times, and it is Cause and Effect. I've done that backwards, forwards, inside out, repetitively ad nauseum. So I'm actually going to go with the Borg, my favorite individual thing from Star Trek.
That's a weird thing to be your
I
favorite.
know, it's really weird, but because I've talked about everything, I could say the ship, I could say the Enterprise,
I feel a
could stop it.
strange urge to join you on
Oh,
this.
yeah.
I don't
Assimilate me, Ian. Now.
Are you attempting to resist?
No.
Good, because it is futile. So yeah, I love the Borg. I think they're a great foe.
They are.
And this is mainly because I want to sin them, and I want to talk about them in the next section, because they really, there shouldn't be any more Star Trek. It should just be a bunch
Borg
of ships
Trek.
filled with Borg, because they should have just dominated.
Did we
from
have
the
to
beginning.
send what we picked? Because I didn't
Yes.
do that.
Oh, it's okay.
No, that's what we're doing in the next.
No, but I did come up with a sim, but it's not for what I picked. So I'm
You can
sorry.
do that.
okay.
That's fine. That's
Yeah,
okay.
It's okay.
Wait,
Because what I picked
you're
is
no
perfect.
longer on Section 31, though. You're back to Ensign.
Sorry.
Yeah, demoted / promoted. But they're just a really original, an original villain, super scary. Even they kind of got done to death in Voyager and lent on as the thing to go back. If we need a good episode that's going to pull in a ton of viewers, then let's get the Borg back and we'll do something unique with them. But even so, they're still an excellent. And First Contact is master, a filmmaker. What anyone says, a beautiful film.
They are really
awesome.
creepy as a villain. The idea of just like watching these sort of like human hybrid computer drones just walking towards you, and they're all talking in unison. That's creepy. But then seeing like Borg Queen and Picard, and I am so confused about how any of the tech works, which we can, I guess,
Join the writing team. It sounds like they are as well.
But I am curious. Have they ever explained the origin, like in a movie? Like, do we know? No. So is it like a computer that went crazy once and then just like was like, you know what, I want to own a human, and so I'm gonna take this USB and be like, I'm gonna you're mine now, and then it just started, or
Yep, whoever invented the USB went back in time and started the ball.
the USB specifically?
So it's explained in a trilogy of books, but that's not accepted. It's not canon, and it's fine, but it's not the best.
So no one
origin.
officially knows.
So no one officially has an origin for
like
the book,
what
no.
the hub is,
first
like where
thing
the
was.
yeah.
Did somebody write some unauthorized Star Trek?
No, it's authorized, but because it's books, it doesn't count.
Oh,
It's
okay.
dumb. Yeah.
Because in Star Wars, if you ask Star Wars people, they would say everything is.
Yeah, that's the biggest difference.
Yeah.
Like Star Trek is more snobby about that for some reason. I don't know why.
They
And
have a lot
it's
more
great
books
story.
too, though. Like they've been releasing like Star Trek books based on different series like every couple months. I don't know how many years. So
And they've just rebooted the whole
they don't.
thing.
They don't kill main stuff.
Oh,
like,
the heck they do.
they,
Yeah.
like main characters from the show.
Yeah, they
Okay, I haven't read a Star Trek book in a long time, so
But yeah,
like,
no,
maybe they're doing
people-
different things now.
They like to bring people back as well. Like they brought Data back, Picard could, and that's one of the reasons they had to reboot the whole book series because
Oh my
Picard just
God.
kind of shat on a lot of what the books had set up. Okay, with that, let's head to engineering for resistance is futile.
Warning. Warp core collapse in 10 seconds.
Now that we've shared everything we love, it's time to pull it apart. We all need to think about one or two, either from the thing that we've said we've just loved, or something in general, Jonathan. Which would probably just be Starfleet.
That's what it said in the instructions. It said whatever you want.
Yeah, no, these instructions are much clearer, but I didn't send them out, so that's great.
Way to go, Captain!
Deneé,
Yeah.
what are you sinning? Are you sinning your show?
No, I want to find something wrong with the holodeck, but I'm really having a hard time. I guess Jonathan's point about splurge is
Yeah,
probably it,
yeah.
right? Just
Good drainage needed.
people misusing it for whatever purposes, whether nefarious or sexual. And then it just the goop of things in there. Or
Human goop.
there's other aliens too.
Yeah.
They're
yeah.
goopy. So I guess my sin of the holodeck is excretion. Thank you, Jonathan.
Nice.
You're welcome.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah.
There's got to be some like sketchy stuff because I mean,
I tried to think like it takes up a lot of energy on a ship, but then
Yeah.
it's designed for
Remember,
that. So
they did that episode of Orville where they got the virus because dude was doing the porn stuff in
Oh
the
my goodness,
holodeck,
yeah.
their version of the
Yeah.
holodeck, and the entire computer system got a virus.
yeah.
It was
would happen
amazing.
immediately.
But that would happen. Like, that's exactly what would happen.
it does like raise the question of like because we can put actors that have passed away, like well, Mark Hamill hasn't passed away, but we can get a young Mark Hamill and put him into Book of Mandalorian now. But when you can do that on a thank you. When you can do that, thank you. Daniel. When we get that on like a holodeck, and you've got real people that you can play with on the holodeck, that's got to be some sketchiness. You feel like that's going to get
Yeah.
abused?
Yeah. But you know,
didn't they
they're in
address that?
space. They're bored.
In
I
that
get it.
episode where he kind of
Oh shoot, Geordie did that.
fell in love with the
That's
Yeah.
yeah.
scientist, and then like he
Oh,
met
I
her,
mean,
and it was like
yeah.
super awkward.
And they hinted at Riker hooking up with people, like Minuet. And, I mean,
Riker
there's
had
definitely
all
some
the
stuff
sex.
going on there. With
Yeah,
Riker.
Riker.
You wouldn't think Riker would have to
Chris
go to the
really
holodeck.
likes
Riker
to
slept
make
with
that.
two
That's one
people
of
in one
his.
episode
that?
when they all
I was
forgot their
joking.
I
when
didn't
they all
even
lost
hear
their
what you
memory.
said.
Oh, I thought you were making. You're not me.
No,
like,
I
you're
didn't
just
know what
joking
you
around. I'm sorry.
Can we go back to something that
It would've been
Jeremy
fun.
just said? Riker slept with 2 people in one episode?
Yes.
Oh, is that
they
when
lose
everyone
their
forgets?
Memory,
Yes.
He sleeps with Ro and Troy.
Yeah.
In the same episode, and then it's all cute when he comes up to him at 10 forward, and they're like, they've talked, and now they're on a team, and they're just going to make him embarrassed. Like they didn't both just sleep with him.
I don't even remember.
He still
they
comes
hooked up
out of
with
that
Ro.
okay. Much more okay than he.
Michelle
Yeah.
Forbes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's it. That's the sin, Michelle Forbes.
That's my sin. Is just the shenanigans that happen on the holodeck. Yeah.
That's fair.
Michelle Forbes always ended up on some of these shows, right? Like,
Yeah.
she was in X-Files, I think.
24
Yes.
as well.
Yeah.
She was supposed to be the character that became Kira.
Oh, that makes sense.
Michelle Forbes was offered that as her character of Ro from Next Generation. They were just going to put her on Deep Space Nine and turned it down.
I'm glad they did. That was
Oh yeah, because I mean,
sorry.
Screw
That's
her.
Really mean.
no, yeah.
Michelle Forbes, if you're listening.
I can't imagine that show without Nana Visitor.
yeah,
so.
Nana Visitor is great. She's
And then
she's
and
incredible.
her and Sadig El Fadil or Alexander Sadig never would have met.
That's true. That's true. Jeremy.
So, although
Yeah.
they're divorced now, so maybe that wasn't a good thing.
Now you gotta sin.
What am
your
I doing?
Shit. You gotta
Sin it.
sin it.
Sin
The
whatever
thing that
you
I
were sinning.
mentioned?
Yeah, I can't remember what
Oh,
you
I
mentioned.
did that when I mentioned it. I think it's dumb that they sent Yar back. Tasha back to the old Enterprise. That flies in the face of what it's about. So I did that earlier. I apologize.
That's okay.
Get off my bridge.
It's my first appearance on the Captain's Pod.
Hey, you can't tell Jeremy to get off
No,
your
I
bridge.
really can't. I'm going to get fired so quick. Quick. This order is different, Chris.
Jeremy brought up the biggest sin, I think, of cause and effect with the data 3-dot thing.
It's so great.
But just to show that sometimes sins are things that we love. The very fact that, I mean, and this is it's a great episode, right? We get to see them die several times,
Yes.
and they're going to be okay in the end. But that is having your cake and eating it too.
Oh, it really is.
It's one of those things where it's like, we'd love to have this emotional moment where everybody dies, but we're going to bring them back. Don't worry.
Yep, we're going to do it 7 times.
It's kind of like, like Edge of Tomorrow does that thing. We're going to send Edge of Tomorrow again now. Where Edge of Tomorrow does that thing where like everything that even touches Tom Cruise, he dies in that movie. And then once he can't die, suddenly things that would have killed him earlier, all right, he's just getting tossed around like a rag doll and everything. So like they do that. It's the cake and eat it too thing. We would have sinned that in the episode. Maybe we will send it. Who knows? We may do that. Yeah.
Don't tease me, Chris.
You would have to be on that too.
Yeah. But they even do that in Cause and Effect, because that last moment where Picard has to choose whether to either use a tractor beam to get rid of the other ship that's going to hit the Enterprise,
Or blow out the shuttle bay.
Oh, she did it! Yes. Boom. And that second is like literally 2 seconds. Data makes the Picard makes the wrong call and the ship explodes. On the final loop, when Data is doing the mental like acrobatics of 3, it goes on for like 17 and a half minutes, and he suddenly has all the time in the world to change his mind. And I don't understand with the Enterprise computer why you couldn't have done both. Vent the shuttle bay and use the tractor beam.
Yes.
But you're right, Chris. There's just never any stakes, and they would do even more egregious stuff where you'd have like a cliffhanger where like Janeway's about to die. Like, I know they're not killing her, so why don't you put like a supporting character?
Hey, I don't mean to bring up a touchy subject for some people, but Infinity War, when they all disappear at the end, and people in the theater were crying. I wanted to stand up and say, guys, do you realize they're coming back or not? You guys have
There's a
to
Spider-Man
know this.
movie coming out next summer, guys.
Yeah, you know Tom Holland is back.
Is that the same argument as though like you realize it's fake, right? Like so like
Kind of.
Not really.
No.
That's
just a different kind of.
That's downplaying.
Because there's ways to do it to where there is some potentially stakes. And the newer Star Trek has kind of figured that out. Like they've actually at least given you a sense that not everybody's safe all the time. But even they've kind of screwed with that, because like Michelle Yeoh kind of died, but then she kind of comes back. And, so I don't know if they're really doing it that well there, but they're at least attempting to do it better.
I'll go even farther than Chris did. When Peter Parker is about to dissolve into dust, and he's like, I don't want to go, Miss Stark. And people were like, that's the most...
No, it is not.
I mock them. No, I don't. He's coming back. There's already another movie for him on the schedule. That was not an emotional moment for me.
But I genuinely like. I always feel silly crying in movies, even though I do it all the time, because it's all make believe. Like it's all made up stuff. But yeah, the Spider-Man moment gets me. Those moments, even though I know they're coming back, like somehow I'm invested in what the characters are invested in that moment. The characters don't know that he's coming back. You know what I mean? So like,
I don't know. I think they were all pretty sure.
Well,
I think
the
sometimes
actors maybe.
my
Anyways,
frustration,
that would be defending myself from being mocked.
I think my frustration sometimes comes in the writers deciding not to make something final. Like, why not make it final? Why not have someone die and then just move on? Because I think that's something that we don't get to. I mean, obviously in real life we deal with it a lot, and maybe that's just like this thing that's too hard for people to like watch and process while they're trying to be at the same time. And so there's like a line they don't want to cross. But it happens all the time. Like for me with Lord of the Rings, when Frodo and Gandalf, like they're all like going across the boat, and I'm like crying. I'm running to the Silmarillion to make sure that I know that they're still okay.
Yeah,
spoilers
in their heaven.
In your case too, though, there's not some new movie that comes out later where we gotta get Frodo and Gandalf back in the game.
That's true. But like one of the most emotional moments I've ever had in the theater was with My Girl, where he fucking dies, and I'm just
Oh
like,
yeah, the bee sting.
oh,
The bees. The bees.
the bees. Can someone get his
I still-
glasses? And I'm like, oh my
I still haven't
God.
finished that movie, so why would you spoil it?
Bruce
that-
Willis is a ghost at the end.
I've been meaning to watch the last 30 minutes for 30,
So-
40 years now.
It's
Ian,
intense.
when you prepared this pod, did you realize that My Girl and Lord of the Rings and
No.
Infinity War were going to be mentioned?
Some of the
Anna
predictions-
Chomsky's kind of had a career comeback, which is awesome. Good
This
for
is
her.
amazing.
But no, it deals with that finality moment. Like, it would have been so fucking cool if in cause and effect, 7 seconds it blows up and the show doesn't come back.
just goes to the next show.
Surprise, guys, we get cancelled.
Yeah, just credits.
Can you remember what followed that episode? It was probably like
It was something so
dumb.
dull. It
Yeah.
was that TNG had form for doing this. Like, you would have this massive, huge episode and the dumbest Deanna story, like, immediately after.
Yeah,
that
like,
that they
oh,
didn't
look,
cut.
Sana Troy's back. Great.
Right.
Five
so,
people laughed at that.
If you're going to sin Lord of the Rings, what? No, sorry, Daniel, sin your thing.
You want me to sing Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, at this point, let's do it.
I can't do that.
Good.
I don't know how. In Best of Both Worlds, I'm just gonna have to say that the whole thing's that Picard survives this cliche because for one, he survives it, and two, it set a precedent of him just surviving things even up to the first season of Picard.
Yes.
Which I'm not gonna ruin that one because it hasn't been 3 decades, but that's just it's just upsetting. And
Because you wanted him to die?
no.
Why do you want him to die?
Well, yeah, why?
Oh no, I love the character Jesus.
But
That's not where I'm going with this.
You could have kept him as Locutus for like a few more episodes. I mean, they could have had a really interesting arc if they had wanted to.
That's my also is
Yeah.
that we also didn't get an era of Riker as captain,
No. we
Yeah.
didn't. Well, I
which
mean,
would have
That's
been
my biggest. How many times in that run of that show does he turn down the opportunity to
It's a few.
have
It's
his own
ridiculous.
ship? It's like 9 times.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I would rather be number 2 because I'm on a tier. If I go to this other ship, no
I
one's
don't want
going
to spin
with me.
off. And that's when, like, the Borg have crippled Starfleet, and Riker can still say, nah. Like, no, you don't really have a choice here. You need to captain a ship. Like, we've got all of our eggs in one beautiful starship.
My favorite story about Best of Both Worlds, though, behind the scenes, is that I don't remember who wrote it, but whoever wrote it did that cliffhanger because he thought he wasn't going to get his contract renewed.
Yes.
So he thought, I'll just leave this for somebody else to mess with, and then they renewed his contract. So then he had to like come up with some shit.
And he's never been happy with part 2
No,
because he was like,
no.
I wrote everybody into a corner because fuck you for not renewing
Yeah,
my
yeah.
contract.
That's incredible.
It's so great. Aaron, come on.
Iron Man did die. Let's just be really clear here. So Wrath of Khan, so as a kid even, I remember things going like, why did he carry that kid's body up to the, like, why did he take it to the medical bay? Like,
Okay, you're right, but there is more. There's a missing scene.
tell me, yes.
Okay,
Nobody
so-
cares, Ian. Nobody cares.
Okay.
Nobody
I
cares.
care. I care.
Nobody
two
cares.
have
people
seen
in the
that there's
live
deleted
audience care.
scenes.
3.
I have seen this missing
That's it.
scene.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I don't think it still
No,
doesn't.
no. It still does. It actually makes
still
less
dumb.
sense.
It's still dumb.
Okay,
It makes
good.
less
good,
sense.
good.
This is going to blow your mind, Aaron.
Okay.
Scotty is related to that engineer.
Oh.
That is
Okay.
his
His
nephew.
nephew.
So he carries his dying nephew up to the bridge.
That's worse.
Yes, exactly.
Right? See? The
basically
surprise
say-
was that it was dumb all along.
He's like, look what you bridge assholes did to my kid. Look at this.
He's still. I'm not dead yet. Oh shit.
Yeah. So even as a kid, like I remember thinking, like, why are you bringing him up here? Get that man some help. I also thinking back, like so he has mind control over people on the ship that should know the information that he wants.
Wait, who?
Am I wrong on that?
Khan?
Yeah, doesn't he have like
Powers.
the worm thing, right?
The worm thing.
Oh, I don't think
Oh.
his crew
That's
are
the
aware of
control.
those.
You're talking about
That's
the
How would
just
they
the
not be,
Starfleet.
how would everybody not be aware of what, like, the Genesis stuff? Like,
Listen, when people have worms, it's private.
Yes.
fair.
Especially
Anyways,
fairy
I was thinking back on that, so that might be something I'd research, kind of explore, kind of.
Just be careful with that Google search when you're researching, like, I have worms. How do I
also
deal
love
with worms?
that they made like a full theatrical trailer. The project was secret. Nobody knew about it.
Right. Yeah.
Here's our presentation of what will happen to a planet 10 years from now when our research progresses.
Well, also, they make a big deal of like it being so hard to find a planet that fits the description, and the description is just lifeless. Like, how many lifeless planets are there out there? Why is
So
this
many.
a hard thing to find? But yeah, so
Just use it on Tatooine so we never have to go there again. Great.
Hey,
nice.
whoa,
I like
you're
this
bringing
idea.
up Star Wars. Are you
Only to
okay?
shit on it. That's
okay.
allowed.
All right,
That's
all
fine.
right.
it has all worked. It has all worked. There's probably a ton of other stuff, like why wear that sweater vest thing in the first place? Just just go shirtless. But yeah.
Layers.
It'll be fun.
You
Yeah.
have to have layers.
Layers,
Even
layers,
just one.
yes.
Daniel has already gone. So, Jonathan.
This is mine's from Con too, and this is super dorky, but it bugs me to this day that Con knows who Chekhov is.
Yes, no, he shouldn't.
He should have no idea because Chekhov was not in the first season of the original series when they met Con, and then they isolated Con. I mean, I guess it's weird Chekhov immediately knows who he is, but at least I could buy that he's heard about Con.
Botany Bay.
Yeah, there you go. Botany Bay. Yeah, that's what I want to do is horribly inappropriate access this entire episode. But anyways, so that's just always bugged me. He shouldn't know Chekhov at all.
Really shouldn't.
And he knows immediately, you're Chekhov. Which I know the movie just needed to give Koenig something to do, and so they just chose that. So I know they knew this, but they were just like, we don't give a shit. And only
it to
people like
Sulu.
Jonathan's dumbass will care.
Yeah.
So,
no, okay, because give it to Sulu, because Sulu doesn't have a huge amount to do either.
No, or even Uhura or whoever, know. But I will give you Deneé one holodeck sin I could think of when you said that. I didn't think of this
thank
now.
you.
Voyager, who they're stranded like in the Delta Quadrant, so like they have all these episodes that base around the fact that they have to get new power cells and stuff like that because they don't have an unlimited supply because they're not by the Federation. They should never use the holodeck. Like, why would you ever use the holodeck? Because that would take up
A lot of resources.
Yeah.
You save that for the replicator, which apparently can make clothing too. Which is
Well, and that's the other thing, because the replicator, they were like the Neelix would like make, because that was always a joke. Neelix would make like this terrible food for everybody, so they were limiting the replicator. But the holodeck was, go do
free reign.
Go do Captain Proton all you want, man.
So dumb. Because that's when they're like 3 years into the journey. You have 77 years left. Even if you're in a good place now, odds are you won't ration that stuff. Right, mine obviously is the Borg, and they're too powerful. Like, that should have broken the entire show. Because even in Best of Both Worlds, they beam onto the ship, and then, before we even get to cause and effect, that should be it done. Because why did they only beam 3 Borg drones onto the ship? You have like 10,000 on that cube. Just put them all on there and it's fucked. They're all gone. Or just the nanoprobes, aerosolize it. Just get one Borg with like a spray can of like fucking Borg probes and they're gone. Stop sending one ship.
Borg doing that now.
like bug spray.
What is he doing?
It's like, is he about to polish the console? What's going on?
Just let him crack on. Or just, I don't know, stop sending one damn ship. Like, why? It's so frustrating.
And also, how does that ship fly? It's a square. Like,
that
how
is
is
the
that?
least of my problems.
Yeah, but there's nothing aerodynamic
You don't
about
need
that
to be
ship.
aerodynamic in space.
There's no gravity in space. It's fine.
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 SpaceSins.
Yep. It's so broken. There shouldn't need to be any physical touch for them. Like in First Contact, Picard's just like, don't let them touch you. It's like, don't let them fucking near you. Don't be on the same deck as them. There's just so many ways the show should be over. But again, it's what makes them such a great villain as well. Right. Okay.
Can I ask a question about the Borg?
Yes.
Is there like a Thanos was right segment of Star Trek population that's like, the Borg are right? Can't we all just be like one entity? And
I mean, there's me that's kind of on there.
Okay, that's what I know. I'm just curious. Like, is there anybody defending like the foundational philosophical concept?
It's
So
not huge.
Is that
as far
kind
as I
of
know.
came up a little bit in Picard, which we're not going to like keep talking about it since super active right now. But that's a conversation that we started having in the podcast because of things that were brought up is like, as a species, if they're going to come to the table for conversation, what does that look like? What can you have a conversation with Borg, or are
We're
they
actually
just
okay with this. You can take us.
Right. Or do they stop at some point? Because there is so much wrong with the Borg. Not like I can't, again, talk about a lot of things that are in Picard, but we've been sending the shit out of it lately because I've got a lot of...
Well, their growth should be exponential as well because they assimilate an entire planet, then all of those can then assimilate another planet. They should have expanded immediately, like as soon as that first planet was gone. So I don't know. I know that Janeway's apparently
They're
crippled
cool.
them somehow. But
They're scary.
They're super scary, but Picard still won't give us a bloody modern Borg drone, and I'm dying for it.
Yeah, that sucks. The struggles are real.
It's because Section 31 knows.
I will say one thing that annoyed me in this season of Picard was when they're going over how they can go back in time to fix things, and he goes through the whole thing about Kirk did this, and then he mentions a couple more, but he never mentions that he fucking went back in time. It's like, bitch, you went back in time, like, and you're using a Borg, which is how you did it the first time. It's like,
yeah, he forgot that part.
Plot memory, but
He's an old man.
He manages to remember everything about Kirk. It's like Kirk did a slingshot in that movie.
Yeah.
Bitch. Sorry. It's great.
that's kind of what I was screaming at the TV as I was watching that episode.
Well,
Anyway.
while we have the table, is there anything else you wanted to sin about Trek while you've got the chance, other than Jonathan calling Picard a bitch?
Sorry.
That's the opening for the podcast, right?
Yes.
Great.
Yeah,
That's the opening
Bitch,
line.
you went back in
As
time.
long as it's not my Chekhov accent, then we're good. Chekhov impression.
And then the people who aren't hearing it live are going to have to wait until the very end.
to know what the hell he's
It's like
talking
the last thing Jonathan says. Like, when does he say that? It's like the very last thing.
Oh, it's amazing. Right, okay, so I think we have just about enough time to debut a new segment on the show, which may or may not appear again, and it is called Trek or Trick. So, this is where I'm going to describe something that may or may not be an episode of Star Trek, and Deneé has to guess whether it is Trek or a trick.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Okay, here we go. Okay, are we ready?
Shit.
Audience, please
So you
don't
can't
give it away.
do this because
I can't tell you anything.
You can't actually tell
Nope.
me. Okay.
Now, Section 31, I'm sure will know what this is. If it's true or false, he
Fine.
will know. So, there is a giant snowflake in space.
Okay. Is like a spaceship or like an actual snowflake?
It is a giant snowflake in space that kills Riker's girlfriend.
Okay.
Data's-
One of them or all of them?
Just one that we just one for now. Yeah, just one.
Okay, for now.
Data's grandmother has a cure for the giant snowflake.
Okay.
But Data doesn't know that It turns out that the giant snowflake killed her actual son, and she is a robot.
Holy shit.
And then she kills the snowflake, and everyone's okay with it. But they kill the snowflake after they find out it has feelings. And Geordie comes to the bridge, turns the deflector into a tuning fork to communicate with the snowflake.
After it's dead?
No, before it's dead. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, shit. Okay. So this is tricky because there's been enough information that makes me think this is bullshit. Starting with Snowflake. So
In space.
in space, yeah. But then also, like, Data doesn't have a grandmother because he's a robot. But then I like saying robot. It's my new favorite. Like, I'm adopting some words into my own language.
That's what they used to do in Futurama.
I really like I want to make bollocks mine, but I feel like I can't yet. And I
yeah.
have to work into bollocks. But robot.
You always have to work into bollocks.
Wow.
Sorry,
Just
Jonathan.
wow.
Sorry, Jonathan. You don't get the cold open anymore. Deneé work in
damn
the
it!
bollocks.
Okay, so that was like, I was like, Data, no, like that's not true. But then you just kept going and adding layer upon layer upon layer of absolute bullshit, which means it's true. I'm going to say this is actually a Trek.
It is. It is an actual episode of Star Trek. Well done.
You're like, tuning fork?
I was about to say,
This
knowing
sounds real.
nothing about all the Star Trek episodes, this sounds real?
Yeah. It sounds absolutely on brand for Star
You
Trek.
delivered it with such confidence. If we do this again, you're going to have to find a way
Be a
to
bit
make
more
it
shaky.
Remember
bonkers
the name of it.
Yeah.
and like be that confident.
I'm pretty sure I left something out.
What's really strange is that was based on a real life situation. There was more a documentary even.
Yeah.
Than
I thought that was a
So
Dr.
it's
Seuss
not,
book
that's not
originally.
That's not data lore, but it's the same thing, right?
Well,
It's
so that snowflake Snowflake teams up with Data's twin, Law, at some point and does some crazy shit.
Okay.
Too,
now
but
that I know
it's
it's
not that
real,
one.
it
was
hurts
that
even more.
Is that the first season episode?
No. So Data Law is the first season episode.
That's not the one you're
and-
talking about.
No,
then.
not that
Can
one.
we
This
go
is
back
later
just real
on.
quick? So there was a snowflake that was sentient that they killed.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. Because the
Alright.
snowflake is killing tons of people.
But it was actually related to the robot that is
Um,
the grandmother.
No, so Data, whoever made Data, also made this woman to be his wife, because that's what you do with robots. You make a robot wife.
You marry your grandmother robot?
Yeah, and then she was too realistic, so he made Data to be less realistic so that he would be accepted by people. Wiped her memory and left her on a planet.
Oh shit.
Yeah,
That's dark.
it's great. And then her arm falls off, and
You left
that's
that
how-
part off.
Yeah.
Like you left all that out.
Too many specifics. You would have guessed
Okay,
again.
that's true. All right.
But yeah, her arm falls off. She doesn't realize because she's unconscious.
Do you-
Then they all realize that her arm shouldn't have fallen off.
Do you know what gave it away?
What?
The-
Really?
That's what got
That's
me.
barely in the episode. That's not there. That's amazing. Well done. You've won. I will not keep a tally until you start losing. But yeah, Fleet Command is telling us that we need to wrap up. Thank you everyone for being here to hopefully enjoy the show, and thank you for my lovely crew and Aaron for being here. Live long at Podsper.
Thanks for listening. Want to connect with the show? Our hailing frequencies are always open through captainspod@cinemasins.com. Like, comment, and subscribe on your podcast player of choice, and be sure to visit cinemasins.com.
We have a little bit of time for Q&A.
Yes.
If
sweet.
people want to do some Captain's Pods Q&A or
So
whatever.
we don't have a microphone for you guys. So what we'll do is if you have a question, we will repeat it to the mic so that it stays recorded. And so that way we can. And if somebody is watching live and they have a question, there's someone in the chat that might be able to ask it.
Okay.
To repeat the
So
question.
to repeat the question, I am English and therefore no Doctor Who personally. How can I say? How can I say that the Borg are original? Now, I assume you mean the cyber people? So, but they weren't assimilating until new Doctor Who, I think, because the Daleks were already They were their own species that became robots. The Cybermen, I think, were making cyber people. But that's fair. That's fair. Original-ish.
Resistance is futile came from Doctor Who.
Yeah, they definitely said it first, but it's
Wow.
Wow.
that'll do pig, that'll do donkey sort of thing. That'll do donkey is better and therefore gets used more. That's fair. That's a fair point.
Good point. Here's the question. For someone who's never seen any Star Trek, how?
I'm sorry I bored the hell out of you then.
He borged
Well
the hell
done
out
for
of
sitting
you.
through this.
How do you get started? Okay.
They're pretty much all on Netflix.
Yeah, there's a lot of opinions. I've had a lot of people reach out to me to give like more ideas on content to watch. Like each show seems to have a specific sort of going on. So if you want to do like space travel and you want it to be like a little bit more like, recent, maybe Voyager, but someone might say Voyager. But then there's even more like new stuff coming out. What I've noticed even with Picard, well, Picard is really specific because, you know, it's coming out of the next generation. So there's these characters that are like from there, but they also have new characters too. So like a show should design it for a new watcher. So I wonder like if there's a type of content that you really are drawn towards. Like if you like sci-fi, then maybe you could like what's one of the shows you really enjoy watching? Okay, so all about sci-fi. Where would you?
So I have the correct answer for this. There is only one way to do it.
Thanks.
Now, bear with me. It's going to be controversial, but Enterprise is a TV show, and it's a little bit maligned by Star Trek fans, but I think it's great. And
Nope.
Sorry. The reason I suggest Enterprise is because
Just so you know, Jonathan didn't say that. It escaped from his body.
Yeah, it did. It really did. I thought I was thinking it, but no.
So the reason
I love
Jonathan
Scott
is wrong,
Bakula. I'll say that.
So Enterprise is a brilliant gateway drug. And actually, Jonathan, you've proved my point because it is kind of light Star Trek. The special
true.
effects are updated. So starting with TOS, the original series, is a massive no-no because that's probably going to put off a lot of people.
The only thing about that, I will say, if you're really into sci-fi, especially sci-fi writers, TOS had a lot of Harlan Ellis and wrote an episode and Matheson and they had they actually had novelists writing episodes, Fontana and all these people. So that's the one thing about TOS I always that's why I trend people towards. But if all you want to see is just space travel and stuff, yeah, I mean, you can watch it later. You're not going to miss anything.
The point with Enterprise is that the barrier to entry is quite low because they don't do a ton of references to previous series. There are great individual episodes. There's a running arc throughout the whole thing. The acting is great. The special effects are great. If you start with The Next Generation or the original series, then you might be put off by the 80s-ness and the 60s. But once you've got Enterprise under your belt, which is only 4 seasons, you've got that under your belt, it gives you the framework. You can then go back to TNG and appreciate. By then you should be hooked, and you can appreciate decent Trek and good Star Trek.
You're such a dealer.
Yeah, I am.
Did you just say they made 4 seasons of Enterprise?
And first
Did
of all,
you say
I
they
don't
made 4
hate
seasons of
Enterprise.
Enterprise?
Yeah.
That was it. 4
I
seasons.
honestly thought it was.
No, they did 4. And season 3 is just 26 episodes that are back to back, just the same story.
Yeah, that was my
so
favorite
good.
part. No, Enterprise I don't hate it. I like it okay. It's just out of like around that era, it would be like out of those 4 that came out around that time, it would be my 4th easily.
It's the worst of the 4 for sure,
Yeah.
but it's the easiest entry for
I
the
agree
new
with
fans.
that.
Do you think the Kelvin timeline would be a good entry point, or do you think that
Right, okay, so what you do is you watch the Kelvin films, then you watch Enterprise. That's actually the best way to get
I
into
think that'd be a good way to go.
I do want to say one thing that's been really interesting for me is that the fandom there's like a consistency amongst them all, which I think is one of the big draws for the show. Because sci-fi, like space stuff, you can kind of find in all these areas. But in the world of Star Trek, there's rules. So in a way, it's kind of comforting. Like he'll keep all this useless information that's interesting for me. So like if I have a question about how Data is able to hold something in his brain through time travel or some shit, he's like, well, actually, it's a framework of a blah, blah, blah. And there's a plasma shoo, shoo, shoo. And so I get to I'm like, oh, that's fucking cool. And it's consistent and all the fans know it. And that's kind of a neat draw to it, too.
plasma shoo, shoo, shoo
is
not canon? It was in those books.
I will say a positive, though, a positive on Enterprise and also Next Generation and the original series is they've all had HD upgrades. Deep Space Nine and Voyager have not. There's a lot of reasons behind that. But so especially if you're streaming it, they don't look that. Even though they're around the time of Enterprise, they look almost worse because you don't get that HD quality. I do recommend the physical media though, with all 3 of those series we talked about, if you can, if you're willing to go that far with it, because the streaming does lessen it a little bit, the HD. But they did some beautiful. Those Next Generation Blu-rays are ridiculous. I mean, it's like you're watching a whole new show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The question is, what's a favorite cameo with the example of a Crown Prince of Jordan appearing? Which one?
Season 2 episode of Voyager.
Yeah, that's wild. For me, oh man, and it's so bad. I've forgotten her name. She's an astronaut, and they just put her in one scene of TNG, and she's just operating a console in the transporter room. And Google her name so I don't look terrible.
Maybe that's what I'm doing.
But it's great. Obviously, they couldn't give her any lines anyway, but it was just awesome to see her on screen, and everyone was like, oh, it's amazing that you're here. And she's like, no, it's amazing that I'm here on the Enterprise. It's great.
Who was just on Discovery?
Was
that like a governor or something?
Yeah, the governor of Georgia?
That sounds right.
Yeah, the governor of Georgia. Yeah, that's it, yeah. Yeah, it's so
mean,
great.
Not the governor yet, but
she
might be.
Oh, okay, my bad.
Yeah.
I'm English. Ha.
Yeah.
I just quickly Googled Star Trek cameos. It's insane how many people have been in Star Trek.
Oh, there's Ashley Judd.
Yeah, Ashley
Judd. Yeah,
Kirsten
she got
Dunst. Kirsten Dunst, when she was 11, was on a Next Generation episode.
Yeah, she was a little girl.
Seth MacFarlane was on 2 episodes of Enterprise.
He's an engineer, yeah.
An ensign, but active ensign.
You can be an engineer and an ensign. Thank you.
Don't steal my answer.
May Jemison, thank you.
So anyway, I'll quit saying them because I know people have other answers, but I just kind of blew my mind. I didn't realize everybody was.
Yeah. And then this one.
Yeah.
And then this one.
And Jeremy's answer and Chris's answer.
Yeah.
Watch our answers be the same.
Might be.
Star Trek 6 Undiscovered
Yeah.
Country. There's a moment where a crewman comes in to tell Sulu
Yes.
about this message they got, and Sulu's up in bed, and the actor's completely shrouded in shadow, and he has one line.
The only thing that stunk about that was he wasn't wearing sunglasses. I think everywhere you saw Slater, in '91, he was wearing sunglasses.
I just always thought that was I feel like it takes a lot of humility to do a cameo where your face doesn't show.
Yeah.
Granted,
I just wanna
he
be
had a
there.
recognizable
Wasn't he a
voice.
fan?
Oh, I
Yeah,
think he's a
huge,
fan.
huge
Yeah,
fan.
but
Because Tom Hanks, I think it was Generations, they were trying to make that work because Tom Hanks is a huge, like, he's a space guy and everything.
Yeah, I think he was going to be
But-
the captain of the
but
Enterprise B.
But I'm kind of the Alan Ruck
Exactly,
role, that was
yeah,
going to
yeah.
be Tom Hanks.
Uh-huh.
Wow,
That would've been awesome.
I think Tom Hanks dodged a bullet there, but I mean, that would have been fun.
there's an episode of Friends where
Robin Williams and Billy Crystal.
where Ross and Rachel hire a male nanny, and it's Freddie Prinze Jr.
Yes.
And Ross is all weirded out because show's kind of awkward sexuality, to be honest. But that was supposed to be Tom Hanks.
Oh, that's awesome.
They couldn't get Tom Hanks, and they called Freddie Prinze Jr. literally the day before, and he was like,
wow.
Oh, that's crazy.
Can you imagine? Yeah, sure. I'll just show up on camera.
Stephen Hawking is my other favourite one because he just appears in the holodeck. So good. And you can just see he's so happy to be there today.
Anybody else? You have one? Chris has got one.
No, I was just gonna say because everybody's taking everybody's answers here. I'm gonna go with Famke Janssen as Kamala in something
yes.
in The Perfect Mate.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
The
Picard
Perfect
falls
Mate.
in love with her. Or
Yeah.
she falls in love with Picard. Yeah.
Yes.
One of the two.
Yeah,
There's
I
an
mean, if he
imprinting
didn't fall in love with
situation.
her, that's kind of stupid.
I mean,
but-
yeah. Can you imagine a better title for that episode starring Famke Jan? The perfect.
Yep.
It means shipmate, of course.
Yeah,
Of course.
that's what
Perfect
it
shipmate.
means.
That's
yeah,
what it was.
That's what it means.
Nothing
It's
like
not.
that.
It's not so much a cameo. He actually was in a couple of episodes, but God, I loved Brad Dourif on Voyager.
So
as
good.
and that was such a cool concept that like while they're stranded, what if one of their crew members was a serial killer? Like it was just such an interesting concept. And then they actually
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he killed a crew
Yeah.
person. Well, I don't know if he's a full-on serial killer, but he killed a crew person, and then after that, he was like, I really want to kill somebody else. So he had,
Holy
and so
shit.
Tuvok helped him get better, and then he ended up.
He didn't help him
And then he
kill.
ended up.
Okay.
Then eventually he saved Voyager, and then died in the process. But
Yeah, that went nowhere.
no,
So
it really did.
disappointing.
Well, basics is God.
Holy
That's a
yeah,
whole other
moved on
thing.
from them. Discount.
Yeah, everybody up here's like, yeah, the K's on, man. I get you. I'm with you.
I thought I saw a hand over
Do
here.
you remember when
too.
Andy Dick showed up in Voyager?
Yeah, I super
That was
remember that.
amazing.
That was
Joe
so cool.
Piscopo was in Next Generation.
That actually happened.
Joe Piscopo was a stand-up comic teaching Data.
Oh, yeah, no, he does. Yeah.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
hands.
And then out of all the comedians they could have gotten, they got Joe Piscopo.
Okay, so the question is about scores from the movie, and the assumption is that you know what it is. So
Yours
I'd like
will
for you
be
to
first
tell your
contact.
neighbor, so that way there's confirmation, and that way if he says it, we if you got it right. Okay, so whisper to.
I mean, I've outright said it before. If you've listened to the podcast or anything, it's Star Trek VI: Undiscovered Country.
Was it? Oh, you got it wrong! Oh, shoot!
I think this is one instance where I will go more recent because I love the 09 score. I don't know
So
who
good.
is it.
Giacchino, right?
Yes, that music's amazing. Like
Which one?
The 09.
Oh, that's Giacchino.
Yeah.
That actually been my answer. Is that one? That's. I mean, it's right. That,
But they're all great. For the most
they are
part.
all. That's one of the things I love most about Star Trek. Did Enterprise though? Did they advertise with that rock song, or was that their actual opening?
That was the opening song.
That was a terrible decision.
There is a
Yes.
full song with like three
Every
verses.
other Trek has a great theme.
Apart
Yeah.
from
And that one,
Enterprise.
they're like, let's get the fray, or whoever the
What
fuck
is
it
it
was.
in?
I can't remember his name.
It's like I've
Save a
been
life.
numb from the heart.
It's
I can't
'cause
remember.
I've
It's
got
like,
faith
That's
of
it.
the heart. Go
Oh, yeah.
take me.
Guys, sometimes we shouldn't have microphones. All right.
We send something, and I put that as a joke in there, and I remember it was me and Deneé. I can't remember what we were sending, though, but I actually sent you a clip of the YouTube thing so you could see what I was talking about.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was. I think we were making fun of somebody else's. Or
Yeah, I
something.
always appreciate that because I miss so many references because you guys have all this like brilliant network mind where you're like, I remember this from this movie. And I'm like, I have no idea the reference. And so Jonathan has just started making it part of his script writing experience that when we write together, he's like, my references.
I know we're wrapping up and everything, but I figured I would ask a question as if I'm some. What is your favorite Q episode?
Oh.
Tapestry.
Tapestry's the easy answer.
Well, yeah, it is, but sometimes the easier is right.
Yeah. No, it is probably Tapestry. He's not in it a huge amount, but it's Q who. So this
That's
is
a great
where Q it's the most Q thing in the world. Q turns up, kidnaps Picard, puts him in a shuttle in space, basically says, I'm going to fuck with you for a little bit, takes him back to the ship, snaps him in front of a ball cube, fucks off for the rest of the episode. Just says, deal with it. And Picard's like, dude, like, we don't even know what these people are, but they look really mean. And then comes back at the end to say, do you want some help? Do you want me to get you out of here? And Picard's just like, fuck yeah, I need your help. Get me out of here. I lost like 20 people. And he was just like, okay, snap, and we're all back to normal again.
He was in a couple of Voyager episodes, so I will give a shout out to Death Wish. That was a really interesting episode
that's good.
where you had another member of the Q continuum. Because the whole thing is they can live forever. And this one Q was like, I don't want to live in. Like, he's like, I'm done. Like,
I want to be mortal.
I've had, thousands of years. I'm good. And that was just a really interesting episode. Yeah.
And he shows up in Deep Space Nine.
He's in one episode of Deep Space Nine,
and he doesn't work, basically, right? It's kind of.
I don't remember that.
Yeah,
episode
that was the only time they were like allowed to reference TNG. Q turns up, and Cisco punches him, and Picard.
Yeah, that's right.
And Q's just like, Picard never punched me.
Yeah.
Never turns up on the station again. Like, if Picard had decked Q immediately, we wouldn't have any of these problems. Yeah. Cisco's just like, fuck this guy. Shit him.
One of the few conventions I went to was John Delancey was the guest, and he's a really, really nice guy. Like, he's a really cool person. He's as cool as he seems, when you see him. I'm loving him on Picard, by the way. Especially that scene with him and Spiner. I was like, oh, this is awesome.
So good.
Yeah. And I like the old, like, with the nice, facial hair. And I don't know, it's just like the old meticulous.
That's like how they reintroduced Q and aged him was absolutely perfect.
Yeah, it was.
We can afford to do this for exactly 19 frames, and then he's got to snap to like what he.
So
looks
yeah,
like
he's
today.
like, oh, Picard's old. I'll be old too.